Hi everyone, today is our last topic, the Pythagorean theorem. You made it to the end. So I am using the book to show you this drawing, because honestly I tried to create it with my hand, like just draw it freehand multiple times, and it wasn't working. So I was getting very frustrated. I'm like, I'm just going to show them this. So here you have in blue is a triangle, and notice that it's a right triangle because it has a right angle in it. So anytime a triangle has a right angle in it, we call it a right triangle. The little box in the corner denotes that it's a right triangle, which means that that angle right there is 90 degrees. And when you take geometry next semester, you'll get into this a lot more. This is kind of just an introduction to it. But today we're talking about the Pythagorean theorem, and what does this have to do with it? Well, so this length here is 3. The length of this one is 4, and then the length of that side there is 5. So for kicks, just to show you, if you had a square, a 3 by 3, the area of that square, as you can read there, is 9 square units, because 3 times 3 to find the area of a square is 9. Same thing with 4. If this was a square of length 4 by 4, 4 times 4 is 16. And then your last one here, 5, if you had a square that was 5 by 5, 5 times 5 is 25. So what we're going to look at here, remember you had 9, 16, and 25. For those of us who have never seen this before, the Pythagorean theorem says the first leg squared, which was 9, plus the square of the second, which is 16, equals the square of what we call the hypotenuse. So 9 plus 16 is 25. So there's a visual for you of the Pythagorean theorem, but let's talk about the words that we need to know. So when we have a right triangle like this, the legs are the two sides that form the right angle. Remember, right angle just means 90 degrees. The hypotenuse is the side that is opposite or across from the right angle. All right, so like we just said, and I'll say it again here for you in words, a picture, and the equation. In a right triangle, so again, this is only good for right triangles, the square of the length of the hypotenuse, so that's C in this picture, is equal to the sum, which means add, of the squares of the lengths of the two legs A and B. So this is saying your legs A squared plus your other leg B squared equals C squared. And that's the equation we're going to need for this whole section here. So let's jump into some of the math. All right, so number 1, find the length. Sorry, I had to put that down. Find the length of the hypotenuse of the right triangle. So remember, our equation is A squared plus B squared equals C squared. So my two legs, my A and my B, are 15 and 8. I know that because they're the two legs that make the 90 degree angle, the right angle. So I'm going to have 15 squared plus 8 squared equals C squared. So here's where you can either use your calculator or that perfect square chart I posted to the classroom. 15 squared is 225, 8 squared is 64. Now I'm going to add 225 and 64 together. That gives me 289 equals C squared. Remember, that's not your answer. Like we've been working on the past couple days to solve this, you have to take the square root of both sides. Now, when you take the square root of a number, how many answers do you get? You get 2 answers, plus and minus. But in this case, or in this whole section, we are only dealing with positive answers because we're looking at lengths of triangles that can only be positive lengths. So you will not, for these problems, be writing plus or minus. So again, if you look at your perfect square sheet or use your calculator, the square root of 289 is 17. So my answer to this is 17. That's the length of the hypotenuse. For B, same deal. Your two legs are 8 and 6. So 8 squared plus 6 squared is going to equal C squared. 8 squared is 64, 6 squared is 36. Okay, now I need to add 64 plus 36. That gives me 100. Again, you're not solving for c squared, you're solving for c. So you need to take the square root of both sides. You're only going to get the positive answer because, again, it's a length of a side of a triangle. Square root of 100 is 10. That's your answer. So we won't always just ask you to find the missing hypotenuse. Sometimes we'll ask for the leg that's missing. So it says find the length of the missing side of the triangle. So we have a right triangle. We know we have leg 6. We have a missing one, and then our hypotenuse is 14. So for people who like to see the equation written out beforehand, remember A and B, it doesn't matter what you call A, what you call B, just that you use A and B as your two legs, the two sides that make up the 90-degree angle. So I'm going to write 6 squared plus your other leg is x squared equals your hypotenuse. That's always the one across from the 90-degree angle. So 6 squared is 36. X squared I have to leave, and 14 squared is 196. So this goes back to what we did over the past 2 days. You have to solve for x squared. So your first step is you're going to subtract 36 from both sides. So that gives me x squared equals 160. All right, we go to take the square root because we're solving for x, not x squared. And if you go and you put 160 into your calculator or look at your perfect square sheet, you will see that 160 is not a perfect square. So this goes back to the part of the unit where you have to simplify your square root. So we're looking for a perfect square that goes into 160. One that comes to mind for me is, you could say 16 times 10. So we did this a couple sections ago. I'm breaking that down. Remember, when I am multiplying under the square root, I take the square root of each number. So why was 16 a good choice? Because 16 is a perfect square, just to review that. So square root of 16 is 4. Square root of 10 is square root of 10. It's not a perfect square, and I will leave it like that. I know I'm done because there are no perfect squares that are factors or go into 10. B, this looks kind of weird, but it's still a right triangle. Your hypotenuse is 25 and your two legs are 7 and x. I know that 25 is the hypotenuse because it's across from the 90-degree. So I have 7 squared plus x squared equals 25 squared. 7 squared is 49 plus x squared, again using your calculator or the perfect square cheat sheet. I don't even actually know if 25 was on there, but 25 squared is 625, 25 times 25. You're going to subtract 49 from both sides because you need to get x squared by itself. So you should get 576 equals x squared. Again, you are not done because you are solving for x and not x squared. So we take the square root of both sides, and this time actually 576 does have a square root. It's 24. And that's your answer for that one. One more type of problem that we need to do, and then that's it. So basically we can look at the Pythagorean theorem and take the opposite, meaning that if we have 3 sides, if they satisfy the equation a squared plus b squared equals c squared, then we know it's a right triangle. So for part A, if I give you 3 sides, 5, 7, and 9, I want to know, do we have a right triangle? So for these problems, we're not looking for you to just draw a picture and be like, oh yeah, it's a right triangle. No, that's you just drawing a picture. We actually have to use math to support our answer. So the question we usually get is, well, how do we know what goes in for A, B, and C? Well, what really matters here is the C, right? The hypotenuse C, that's the longest side. So out of your 3 numbers, what's the biggest number? 9. So 9's going in for C. And then again, it doesn't matter which one goes in for A and which one goes in for B because those are just your legs. All right, so I am checking. I could really put a question mark here because I'm checking, does 5 squared plus 7 squared equal 9 squared? So 5 squared is 25, 7 squared is 49, and 9 squared is 81. So what's 25 plus 49? That's only 74. 74 does not equal 81. So what does this mean? This means that they do not. So no, you could just keep it really simple. Say not a right triangle. If we came out with the two sides equaling each other, then you'd say, yes, this is a right triangle. Just two more quick ones. So again, same question, do these three sides form a right triangle? So again, I always tell people put the largest number in for C. So between 20, 21, and 28, 28 is the biggest number. And then again, it doesn't matter which one goes in for A or B. So again, we are testing, does 20 squared plus 21 squared equal 28 squared? 20 squared is 400. 21 squared, 21 times 21, is 441. And we want to know, does that equal 28 squared, which is 784. So 400 plus 441, that's going to be 841. So do those two equal each other? The answer is no. So do we have a right triangle? No right triangle. Last one, playing beat the battery game. All right, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Your biggest number here is 37. And then I'm going to have 12 squared.
A castle.
Thank you so much. 12 squared plus 34 squared. 12 squared is 144. 34 squared is 1,156. And 37 squared is 1,369. So we have to add the two numbers on the left. And you are going to find that once again, these two numbers do not equal each other. So we don't have a right triangle again. If we did, the two numbers would come out to be the same on both sides. And so that is all. I guess maybe I should do one where it actually does work out, just to show you that. So if you had 9, 12, and 15, just really quick. So we'd have 15 squared. We want to know, does that equal 9 squared plus 12 squared? 9 squared is 81, 12 squared is 144, and 15 squared is 225. So does 81 plus 144 equal 225? So do they equal each other? Yes. So you'd say, yes, we have a right triangle here. All right, thanks once again for listening.